But given that the criticisms of the Sussexes in recent weeks, there have been several of them. What impact do you think that will have in future for them, attracting work and attracting various types of sponsorship?
Well, this is the main issue. This is what everyone is kind of anticipating from the Sussexes. What are they going to do next? I think we have to understand the variety of factors that are at play with what's looking like the decline of the Sussex brand, if it ever was, succeeded in the first place. When they did leave the royal family in 2020 and, basically the whole world was locked down, a lot of these streaming services saw a boom in subscriptions because people were basically stuck at home. And so the likes of Netflix and Sussexes tried to, and Spotify, sorry, they tried to draw big names like the Obamas and, various celebrities to produce content for them because they had the cash, they had the spare cash, and they had people at home. Now, what happened at that time as well, when the Sussexes left the royal family, they were offered all of these deals to produce content in the hopes that they would be able to, keep these companies buoyant with an explosion of content that will keep people watching. But the reality is, now that a lot of the streaming services have seen their subscriptions drop because the world has now opened up again, and the Sussexes not really having produced a lot of content, and they seeming to not have a very specific focus on actually the kind of content that they want to produce, we now see a combination of very little content, a lot of lack of direction from the Sussexes, not great production value, and the streaming giants dedicating all this money to the couple and not really seeing a return on investment. So that really is kind of the perfect storm for them, because they don't have a reputation in the industry now for producing good quality content. The idea that they're going to keep drawing eyes to them and attention is again waning, and their reputation is also falling by the day. So even if they do produce content, if people think that they're just a sanctimonious pair of whingers trying to make money and have no expertise in anything, even if they do produce content, will people watch it? So it's really, they're not in a very favourable position right now, and I'm sure they know it because they've hired, a new PR team, and it looks like they're focusing on a bit of rebranding there. But that is the issue that they're facing now.
And on that rebrand, let's talk about that. Is that enough? Well, first of all, what will they do? What's in train, and will that be enough?
Well, I suspect, and this is my personal opinion, that it's too little too late, and the penny has dropped too late for them to do anything. The reality is, when they left the royal family, that was when most of the bulk of the work should have started. That's when they should have really curated their brand more carefully. Because effectively that's what's going to pay them. In the interview that Harry gave to Oprah, he said, their plan wasn't to effectively go into Hollywood and get all these deals from streaming giants, but when he left the royal family, he'd effectively been cut off financially, and needed a way to pay for his family's security. So in his own words, he was happy to sell his stories and his experiences in the royal family, him and Meghan's, to make money to effectively show up his family's security and, I guess, make a buck or two extra while they're at it. But that doesn't really go down well with very many people. So by doing what seems like selling out their family, that effectively cemented their reputation in many people's minds. And we have to remember that they're not really experts on anything. They're not chemists, they're not geographers, they're not doctors. Meghan is an actress that got a secondary role in a hit series after more than a decade in the industry. And Harry is just a former prince. His whole life has been in the royal family. And that's not something that's very relatable, especially when you come outside of that bubble, because they just see you as a privileged man who hasn't really had to do a hard day's worth of work, because you haven't. So that's really what they're going to be struggling with. They've really cemented themselves in people's minds as something that's not very favourable. And now their greatest asset, which is any sort of credibility in the public, is gone. So I'm really curious, how far this rebrand will go in actually rectifying that. Because so far as most people are concerned, they're not experts on anything. They're not, physicists or biochemists. They don't have they don't have anything of value to give the public. And they also don't have a great reputation. I mean, that South Park episode was brutal, but very honest. And it resonated with so many people because it's true.